All right, it is just a little bit after 4 o'clock. I will call this special city council meeting to order. We have 5 items on our agenda to discuss. These did come up since our regular city council meeting last Monday, and there is a sense of urgency for all of the items that we have on today's agenda. So I do apologize that we had to put this into an emergency format. However, there are pieces of business that have a timely manner that we have to attain to. With that being said, due to Minnesota Statute 13D.021, it allows for meetings to be conducted by telephone or other electronic means under the following condition. The mayor has determined an in-person meeting or a meeting conducted under Section 13.02 is not practical because of a health pandemic. Mayor and all councilors participating can hear one another and all hear the discussion. We only have 2 of our city councilors here today because of the timing of the meeting, but we do have Councilor Nelson and Councilor Buller present. Attendance by the meeting is not feasible due to a health pandemic. At least one member of the City Council is physically present at the regular meeting, and all votes are conducted by roll call, so each member's vote can be identified. First, we'll do the roll call. As I had mentioned, we have myself, Councilor Nelson, and Councilor Buller present. Next, we have our very first item on our agenda is going to be new business to reconsider the award of the contract to Shannon's for the 3-zone air conditioning heating condenser unit and purchase one 6,000 BTU indoor or unit of the firefighting engineer office payable from the fire department maintenance and repair of buildings. Chief Manassa, you want to just give a quick update on this?
Yes, thank you. So, first off, apologies for missing last Monday's meeting. We had a hazmat call that I was at. The problem we're running into, so the options quoted were a single system with a single head or a multi-head system with a bigger compressor. Those were the 2 options. The in-between is not a feasible option. I did have a meeting with Mayor Droba and Administrator Anderson last week, and we called Dean directly to find out what our options were. The problems with going with as much as I appreciate the forethought, the problem we have going with a multi-head system is you cannot put just one head on it. You have to have a minimum of 2. So if you have a 3-headed compressor, you have to have 2 heads on it. If you order a 4, you have to have 3 on it. So we really are stuck with, we either need to do the first option of 1 or we need to do the second option of the multiple with multiple heads on it. So that was the basis of our meeting and how to move forward, and it was recommended to come back to this meeting and discuss that.
Okay. Ken, do you have anything to add on this?
Mayor, my only addition would be that, we have some options. We can go with the full option 2 last time, which was a higher cost. We can just do the fire engineer's office, which is a lower cost, but when we fully build it out, it might be the second option cost might be as much as a full $10,000. If we just do the first option, just do the firefighter engineer's office, we might have an opportunity to bring a mechanical engineer in to look at the whole fire system to make sure that what's actually being designed and proposed is going to meet our needs in the extreme weather that we have in the winter as well as the hotter weather in the summer. Make sure that we're not overworking any of the units. But as the chief pointed out, the contractors both bid projects that they thought were going to be sufficient for that space.
Okay. And if I'm correct, the one concern that we also had was if we get the 3 head now, we could put in the 2 heads, but it still would be almost as expensive to add that 3rd head later than the $10,000 was the conversation that we had when we had spoke with
Yes,
Shannon's.
after you put that condenser in, the additional head is $700. So if we do 2, we're saving $700 off the total, whereas if we do all 3, it's an additional $700. So I think one of the conversations we had as well is, if we do the single head now, and we decide to upgrade later, you're gonna pay the $4,447 now, and you're gonna pay approximately the $10,077 later. So you're gonna pay more if you build it out separately, whereas if you do it now. So there was that discussion as well.
That's the one, that's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah, and yeah, thank you.
Okay, so council's thoughts on how to move forward, if we should get the 3-zone air conditioning condenser unit or the 1-zone air conditioning heating condenser unit. Chair would entertain a motion.
Oh, we have to do a motion first?
Yep.
I'll make a motion to get the multi-head system from Shannon's for the $10,000 figure.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
How long did this one that we're replacing last? I mean, is this like a short period of time that we're redoing this issue, or is this like a longer period of time?
I believe it was around 04, 05 when that one was put in, so 15 years, 16 years, something like that. That's off the top of my head, but
Councilor Buller?
I know we want to move this along as fast as we can because we've got that issue going on, but there is another heating and cooling person in town right now that started up this spring too.
Who?
Rain Lake Heating and Air Conditioning. Derek,
I'm not familiar with them.
he used to work with Shannon's.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying that. I know we want to expedite this, but there is another one that started up in, I think, February. And
Okay.
I got a good price from him too, so.
Well, I think that's good information for the future when we look for bids.
Well, could we go forward, say we're going to do a multi-head system and still get a quote from him and then go with the lowest bid?
Chief Hausa?
Is that not?
Yeah, please.
I see that as problematic.
I do
because
too.
the quotes that we got from the other 2 firms have already been submitted and are public information, so really wouldn't
Oh,
be
they can look at it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
No, I'm just more of a FYI because, we should include everybody that we do. And I know he's new and I know he probably didn't know about it, but I heard it on the radio and I was looking for one and I happened to call him too, so I had 3 quotes on mine. So.
Well, it's great information for the future, but exactly what Ken was thinking was concerning me.
Would be a quote down and be.
That'd be a pretty simple way to outbid him. I'll do it for $10,500.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question.
Aye.
All right.
And I'll vote yes. Motion carries 3-0. Next, we have a resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Next, we have resolution to receive and file a petition for the vacancy of an alley in the city of International Falls, Block 4, Franson's addition to Couching by Northern Border Investment LLC. Who wants to take this one? The city administrator or building and zoning?
Yes, Mayor, I can start. This is so what I'm passing around is an updated and signed petition for the vacation of the alley. There was a revision that was made to the legal description and a couple of other minor things, misspellings, so those were corrected and submitted. The petition was submitted on the 18th, and the proposal is to vacate the alley in Block 4 of the Franson's addition to Couching, and that would be vacating the entire alley. And for reference purposes, and you can see a plat map in your packet that was sent out. And the alley is actually on the border of two plats, so it's on the far west end of Franzen's addition to Kuchiching, and then it's on the east end of the Wallace addition to Kuchiching. One was done in 1901, the other was done in 1903, so they're very old plats. The alley is 18 feet wide, and the petition's been submitted to vacate the entire alley to allow a redevelopment of the site where the TP Hotel, or motel rather, was located, and the proposed development site is going to extend all the way to First Avenue West, which would be on the east side of the block. So it's necessary to vacate the alley which bisects that property. This proposal includes language to retain an easement and access to allow for utilities, gas lines, electric cables, communication cables, maintenance repair. We have a sanitary sewer in there that would be maintained for a portion of that block, and then also to allow the city ingress and egress on that area to maintain the utilities. So the southern portion of it, which would be from Lot 12 down to Lot 16, would retain an easement, but the actual real estate would be vacated to the adjacent owners. And so our process requires that a petition be submitted, that the council receive that, and if it's appropriate to, and you want to move forward, and then we have to publish a notice in the official newspaper at least once a week for 4 weeks. So part of the information in your packet includes the most aggressive schedule that we could put together to move forward with the proposed alley vacation. And the proposed hearing date would be July 27th at 5:30 p.m. And that's where the council would hear any testimony and evidence either for or against the proposed vacation. So we'll be publishing a notice on June 25th, July 2nd, July 9th, and July 16th. And then we have to wait 10 days before that last publication before you can actually have the public hearing. So it's a fairly long and drawn-out process, but we've laid out the major steps in that sheet that reads alley, street right-of-way vacation schedule. So we're asking that the council adopt the proposed schedule, excuse me, and a resolution that I had drafted asking to move forward based on that proposed schedule, and then we'll provide a notice to the official newspaper tonight so it can be published as early as next Thursday. And again, the reason to move forward is that there's a proposed development on that site, and they would like to have the alley vacated and be able to start construction and complete construction before the end of the year. So time is of the essence from the developer's standpoint.
So Ken, I have a couple of questions. So we accept the petition today. There's 4 weeks where it has to be published in the newspaper, then a 10-day wait, and then the council hears the petition or the public hearing, or is it one of our zones of a?
My understanding is that the council could hear that, or you could set up a committee to do it, but at the end of that hearing, then the process would dictate that the council appoint 3 freeholders, excuse me, I'm sorry, I got something in my throat, 3 freeholders to determine any damages or compensation due anybody as part of that. And so, again, it's a very compressed schedule to try and do that, but that's a process, and it's called out for in the ordinance, and we've included a copy of that section of the charter, actually, that talks about the vacation process.
Well, I just wanted to make sure, I guess I never have been through this before, and I thought it was odd that the council would hear it and not our zoning board or our Board of Appeals, so, okay. Sounds good. So then the chair would entertain a motion to adopt the resolution if the council feels comfortable.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Councilor Fuller. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Councilor Nelson. Any discussion?
Mayor, I would just point out that this again came up. We've had some conversations, but the petition was just received late last week. That's why, and again, because of the essence to move, the need to move forward timely, That's why it was added to the special agenda. And I would just say I've been working very closely with Kelly Myers as the zoning administrator, and if anybody has any questions or if he's got any comments, I'd like him to have an opportunity to share those.
Kelly, do you have any comments to add on this?
I don't think so, no. I believe that we just have to get the process started so it can be done in a timely fashion, and I believe it would be a good development for the city of International Falls. We need to hear more as it comes through publication, so.
Okay. Do we have any of the utilities, has that been looked at or talked about yet?
They have discussed it. Nothing's happened yet, of course, until the vacation is talked about, but yeah, there's some utilities they've spoken about moving, maybe moving a sewer structure probably in the alley, which they would be the expense of the owners, would have to do that. And the other utilities are a lot of overhead lines, that type of thing for power, and that's all part of the vacations.
Okay. Well, thank you. Any other questions for staff?
The only thing is this where the alley is, because none of the lot lines are usually perfectly on with these things. Is there going to be someone that goes out and measures where the alley is to make sure none of these, it looks like 2 homeowners that might have something very close to the alley? Is someone going to go out and survey that and make sure?
The project will have a complete survey with it when it's
Okay.
done. And as far as the property owners on the adjacent side, it would actually be a compliment to their property if this goes through this point, because they will actually retain a little more property than they have for the easement. Really wouldn't be able to do anything on it, but it would be more of their property.
Gotcha.
All right, with no other, I'm sorry, Councilor Buller, do you have anything to add?
Nope.
Okay. With no other discussion, I would call the question on the resolution.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes, motion carries 3-0. Next, we have the resolution establishing the 3 funds for the sales tax, bonds, and projects. City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. Just moving forward, we indicated on the agenda that there would be establishing 3 funds. Just prior to the meeting, I passed out a resolution that at the top says resolution establishing Fund 450 for sales and use tax construction projects. The finance officer and myself had a conversation with the bond attorney, and after a fairly lengthy and broad discussion about this, we've already established a fund with 2 accounts within that, and so the bond attorney is recommending that that not be changed, and so we're recommending that we move forward with this resolution that talks about establishing Fund 450 that'll establish a new sales and use tax fund that will just represent the construction work that we do over the course of the next 30 years. And in that fund, any sales tax revenues that come into the fund, other than bond proceeds, will be paid for out of that fund. And so it's a separate dedicated construction fund for that purpose. And we think that this is going to offer more transparency and clarity to where the money is coming and going from by setting up that fund, and so that's our recommendation. At the end of the day, we have an existing Fund 250, which is where we bring our sales tax revenues into, and then out of that fund, it will be dispersed into this construction fund or into the bond debt service fund, which was established when we sold the bonds on that. So we'll have 3 funds that are interrelated with and affected by sales tax.
Okay, Chair would entertain a motion to adopt that resolution.
I'll make that motion that we adopt that resolution for 3 funds.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Buller. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes, motion carries 3-0. Next, we have a resolution approving the payment of claims and accounts payable June 22nd, 2020. And this is regarding our airport fund reconciliation. City Administrator.
Well, thank you, Mayor. This is a bit of a work in progress. So I've got a resolution drafted that talks about just paying accounts payable. So essentially, without illustrating it, I think the easiest explanation is that we're asking for the council authorization to expend $931,454 to deposit into the airport fund, and then appropriate an additional $120,287.54 into that same fund, which will be a total payment of $1,051,741.54. And what those transfers of money does is it brings the city's contribution to the airport fund current as of December 31st of 2019. We expect that the county board will be allocating and making payment of an amount of $931,454 and making that payable to the city at their meeting tomorrow to bring by month end that fund balance close to zero, at least current through, and cover the deficit as of the year end 2019. Then at our meeting on July 6th and the county board's meeting on July 14th, we'll be making one more disbursement to balance that fund out based on whatever deficit exists since the beginning of this year, and then also with any funds that are going to be approved for expenditure by the Airport Commission this Wednesday. And I did receive an email today that from the administrative assistant that deals with that, and the payment to the contractor, and not including engineering fees, that needs to be approved by the Airport Commission on Wednesday will be $1,943,654.55. So there's a significant cash outlay again, and she still does not have all their claims, but that'll be considered by the Airport Commission on Wednesday. And then we're going to do this exercise again where we try to balance the existing deficit remaining for this year and try and resolve that in July by both boards. So now we're just asking for the council's approval to authorize the resolution that would approve those two expenditures. And I'm suggesting that as part of that resolution that we transfer money out of Fund 402, which is the capital reserve for capital outlay fund, on a temporary basis, and that balance in that fund is over $1,198,000, so it can cover the $1,051,000. And again, we're going to be moving and transferring monies around to try and balance these funds after we find out what the final expenditures are necessary. The positive news about this whole exercise is that starting in July and moving forward, it's anticipated that when these airport expenditures come up, the city is going to pay for half of it, which is our share as a partner in the airport, and the county is going to be paying for their share as a half partner in this airport moving forward, so that we're both contributing to the expenditures of monies. I do want to make a final comment in that we're seeing that there's a little bit of a longer delay in the reimbursement from the state the Minnesota Office of Aeronautics. Due to the COVID pandemic, their staff is working from home and they actually have to get permission to come in. So the disbursements have not been turned around to us, have not been turned around as quickly, which are anticipated to be 2 to 3 weeks. They've been extended for a longer period of time, which is contributing to some of the deficit.
Wow. First, I want to thank you and the administrator from the county, Jenny Herman, for getting together and getting all this, and obviously Brad and the administration office for putting it all together. I don't think anyone's shocked to know how much we're spending out at the airport and how important it is to our community as well. But we had to get the finances right, and we've struggled through this for a little while, and I'm very happy that both the city and the county are moving towards being on the same page. So, does anyone have any questions for either Brad or the city administrator regarding the resolution that we have in front of us?
Mayor, if I can offer a couple other comments, just to have a complete picture on this. The CARES Act that the federal government adopted has appropriated about $1,078,000 to our airport, which is a contribution that was unexpected. The city was also supposed to get CARES funding, but because in the special legislative session that was held, the Republicans and the Democrats couldn't come to an agreement, there's going to be no dispersal of those funds to us from the legislature. The governor does have the authority to disperse some of those CARES Act monies to us, but at this point in time, we don't know how much we're going to get. And the county is due to receive some monies as well. So the number has changed, has varied from the mid 550,000, 540,000. The Senate passed a bill where we'd get 453,000, I think the amount is. They just couldn't come to an agreement, so we don't have those funds. But some of those monies, both the monies that were dedicated to go to the Airport Commission and the city and the county separately, can be channeled to help fund these costs that are ongoing at the airport. The other component to this is that the city and the county had submitted a request to the legislature for state bonding monies in the amount of $2 million to help us offset these expenses. And again, during the regular session, they couldn't come to an agreement about appropriating those monies. There was hope that in the special legislation, which just adjourned, those monies would be made available. And unfortunately, they have not. So depending what the prospects are for getting some of those monies, we may have to look at some kind of a short-term debt instrument to try and offset this cash flow that we're experiencing until we get negative cash flow, until we get reimbursement from the state and the federal government. But again, these airport projects are really the last great grant program in that 95% of this funding is paid by the FAA. The state pays 2.5%, and so the local entities only have to pay 2.5%, and you just don't see those kinds of grant programs around in any program or with any kind of service. So we still feel like we're fortunate benefactors from that. It's just that we've got to manage the cash flow.
Well, and I think you hit it right on the head. What we're able to do is very impressive, to be only having to pay 2.5% of the project of what we're doing. But the City of International Falls, up until today, has paid the upfront costs of 100%. So until we get to the point where we get those reimbursed, it's caused quite the financial issues for us as a city. So, all right, we've heard the information from the city administrator regarding the resolution that's before us regarding accounts payable for the airport. Chair would entertain a motion to accept that.
Oh, we didn't do a motion on this one? I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilor Nelson. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Councilor Buller. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the question.
Aye.
Aye. And I'll vote yes, motion carries 3-0. I lost my agenda in that last one. All right, and then the next piece, I believe, is, I lost my agenda. So Ken, the next one that we had was for the, there it is,
The Highway 53.
Highway 53 local share for the construction project.
Yes, Mayor, the MnDOT, I provided a letter, and they've indicated that the amount due for the local share on the Highway 53 reconstruction project is $2,635,834.95. And excuse me, so I anticipated an invoice by today from MnDOT. They sent that letter out earlier, and they said that an invoice would be sent out in a few days. I have not received it yet unless it came in later this afternoon. So we're just asking for council authorization to move forward with that payment, and so that we can be current, and we anticipate the project to start early to mid-July. And the contractor that was awarded the work by the state, or the low bidder, was KGM, which is the same contractor doing our local 2020 street improvement projects.
Didn't we pre-authorize this last Monday?
We did, but again, because the numbers actually came in, I was hoping to have the invoice. I just wanted to get a formal, because the amount was uncertain before, so you did authorize the prepayment, but
Well, we'll follow up then, if we could just authorize the payment of the $2,635,834.95 for the highway, our share of the Highway 53 construction project. Chair would entertain a motion for that.
I so move.
We have a motion by Councilor Buller. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Councilor Nelson. Questions, concerns?
It's for both years now, right?
Yes, where this is.
Both years for the whole project, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Make it clear.
Really not that important right now, but is this also the year 3 part of the project where we deal with the landscaping stuff, or no, that's going to be separate down the road?
I believe that's separate. Is that true, Ted? Yeah, it's still separate.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and second to make a payment for the Highway 53 reconstruction project. Question, I'll call the question. Question.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion carries 3-0. And the last we have is appoint a voting delegate to the 2020 Virtual Annual Conference Business Meeting of the League of Minnesota Cities, which is this Thursday at 1 o'clock. Anybody from the council can attend. I'm willing to do it. I believe the city administrator can do it, or councilors can represent the city, so it doesn't matter.
Mayor, I would just add that only one person can vote, and so I don't know that we formally appointed who is going to be our voting member. They do want to have some notice from the city who that is, so whoever you choose is fine, but only one person can be the representative voting member, but anybody can listen in. And again, this is done virtually in replacement of the annual conference, which is always held in June and rotates between Duluth, Rochester, and I think St. Paul also. So, but because of COVID, they couldn't hold the meeting, but they still have annual business they have to transpire, so we need to have a voting member, and that's why this is on the agenda.
Well, I can say I would be willing to do it, but it doesn't matter.
I make a motion that Harley be our voting member.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I was going to say, but Joe could probably do it too. All right, so we have a motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion carries 3-0. And I know we don't have anything else on the agenda, so we should probably adjourn, but I want to give out one thank you to one of our members of our council, which is here today, which is Councilor Buller. There was a business owner that was having some difficulties on Highway 53, and he got back with me and told me that between your conversation with him and trying to set up with another business, that they rectified the problem, and he greatly appreciates what you brought to the table, so thank you. Now you have to step up.
Sorry.
You're next. All right. Without any other business before us, this meeting is adjourned.